and just go down the line, and we'll find out whether my depths were pretty good. We've got our guitar fretboard laid out with some blue painter's tape, and we're ready to cut the frets into this fingerboard. And my advice is you don't over-engineer it. I'm going to show you two different little jigs that you can make with stuff you probably already have. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my X0, which is where that line was drawn. Since the pin tip is about 1 millimeter wide, I scoot it 1 millimeter over, and then I hit the 0 button again. Keeps the chance of that catching the tape and pulling it up, and then we have to start all over. And I'm going to go ahead and 0 the Y. The Y is not so critical. I would recommend you don't try to 0 it on the end of the blue tape. Have extra blue tape going off the end of where you drew your line or your melamine. It took 3 minutes and 24 seconds to machine and draw the lines on there. Got our guitar fretboard laid out with some blue painter's tape, and we're ready to cut the frets into this fingerboard. And my advice is you don't over-engineer it. I'm going to show you two different little jigs that you can make with stuff you probably already have at home. And the only other thing you really need is you need a fret saw, and you want one with a certain kerf. And I'll put what I use below. It costs about $15.20 on Amazon plus shipping. I think it works really well. And then you will need the frets themselves, and I buy it in a big lump spool of wire, and I'll list that below as well. I'm not affiliated with Amazon right now. This is jig number 1 that I made to cut the frets, and I had a big square that I already had owned, and what I did is I put a couple 1/4-inch bolts through so that I could pinch on the fingerboard so it would just hold, and then I double stick tape a high fence so I can put my saw against this. You have your fingerboard like so, and what you do is you just slide it along here, and these will lock down to pinch it in place, hold it tight and not wobbling up and down, and then you just line it up flush with the lines that you want to cut, and you've got a square edge to put your saw against, and so you can do that. And then the saw, this is the little fret saw that I use, and then I just double stick tape a piece of wood so that I know how far down to go so I don't cut my frets too deep. That's all you really need to cut these frets. It will still slide, but it'll slide parallel, so I can shift this easily without having to lock and unlock, and yet it doesn't like hop around. I'll just line it up with this one right here, and you want to just kind of feel and make sure that your double stick tape board is perpendicular to Say you don't own a square and you want to do this even more economically. If you just have a thick book, you can absolutely cut your frets with a thick book. Let me show you how you do it. See how far up the thickness of your board is. I'll just kind of eyeball it here. And then you're just going to line it up and square it against those fret lines, and you're going to make sure that you truly have it absolutely lined up. And then this is critical if you're going to use this method, you absolutely have to clamp this down. You're using the edge of the book as your straight edge. So, and lo and behold, you got your fret cut. And way down here at the end, that is actually going to be my nut position. I cut that one deliberately more shallow so that if I want to use a regular fret material for that nut, then I won't set it as deep, so it'll protrude a little higher, which is what we actually would desire. So I should cut that extra shallow So something to keep in mind. So we have our fretboard here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some fretboard wire. We're going to put the prong side down. Make sure you have a little bit protruding off the end so you can snip it off. Just tap it in. Like so. And then I'm going to snip it with a little bit extra so that if I need to pull this out I can, but I can trim it completely flush in a little bit. So a little protruding so that if I need to adjust these, I can adjust them. So just go down the line and we'll find out whether my depths were pretty good.